The 1969 moon landing could not have been accomplished without this giant. It's the rocket that lifted off 24 astronauts to the moon and returned them back to home. And this rocket needs no more introduction, it is the Saturn V rocket. Saturn V was an American human-rated super heavy-lift launch vehicle, used by NASA between 1967 and 1973. With a lift-off capacity of 140,000 kilograms to the low Earth orbit, Saturn V is the most heaviest, tallest and most powerful rocket ever brought to operational status. It is a three-stage, liquid-fueled rocket. The Saturn V was developed under the Apollo program for human exploration of the Moon and was later used to launch Skylab, the first American space station. NASA planned to use the Saturn C3 as part of the Earth orbit rendezvous method, with at least 2 or 3 launches needed for a single lunar mission. However, the Marshall Space Flight Center planned an even bigger rocket, the C4, which would use 4 F1 engines in its first stage, an enlarged C3 second stage, and the S4B, a stage with a single J2 engine, as its third stage. The C4 would need only 2 launches to carry out an Earth orbit rendezvous lunar mission. On January 10, 1962, NASA announced plans to build the C5. The 3-stage rocket would consist of the SIC first stage, with 5 F1 engines, the S2 second stage, with 5 J2 engines, and the S4B third stage, with a single J2 engine. The C5 was designed for a 90,000-pound, 41,000 kilograms payload capacity to the Moon. The C5 was confirmed as NASA's choice for the Apollo program in early 1963, and was named the Saturn V. The C1 became the Saturn I and C1B became Saturn 1B. Von Braun headed a team at the Marshall Space Flight Center to build a vehicle capable of launching a crewed spacecraft to the Moon. The Saturn V's size and payload capacity dwarfed all other previous rockets successfully flown at that time. With the Apollo spacecraft on top, it stood 363 feet, 111 meters tall, and, ignoring the fins, was 33 feet 10 meters in diameter. Fully fueled, the Saturn V weighed 6.5 million pounds, 2,900,000 kilograms, and had a low Earth orbit payload capacity originally estimated at 261,000 pounds, but was designed to send at least 90,000 pounds to the Moon. At a height of 363 feet, 111 meters, the Saturn V was 58 feet, 18 meters taller than the Statue of Liberty from the ground to the torch, and 48 feet, 15 meters taller than the Big Ben clock tower. The Saturn V was primarily constructed of aluminum. It was also made of titanium, polyurethane, cork and asbestos. The Saturn V consisted of 3 stages, the SIC first stage, S2 second stage, and the S4B third stage, and the instrument unit. The instrument unit was built by IBM and was placed on top of the third stage. It was constructed at the Space Systems Center in Huntsville, Alabama. All 3 stages used liquid oxygen as the oxidizer. The first stage used RP-1 for fuel, while the second and third stages used liquid hydrogen. NASA stacked the Saturn V on a mobile launcher, which consisted of a launch umbilical tower with 9 swing arms, including the crew access arm, a hammerhead, crane, and a water suppression system which was activated prior to launch. After assembly was completed, the entire stack was moved from the vehicle assembly building to the launch pad using the crawler transporter. The Saturn V carried all Apollo lunar missions, which were launched from Launch Complex 39 at the John F. Kennedy Space Center in Florida. From 1964 until 1973, $6.417 billion, equivalent to $35 billion in 2019, in total was appropriated for the research and development and flights of the Saturn V, with the maximum being in 1966 with $1.2 billion, equivalent to $7.37 billion in 2019. That same year, NASA received its biggest budget of $4.5 billion, about 0.5% of the GDP of the United States at that time. U.S. proposals for a rocket larger than the Saturn V from the late 1950s through the early 1980s were generally called NOVA. Over 30 different large rocket proposals carried the NOVA name, but none were developed. After the cancellation of the Constellation program, and hence Ares 1 and Ares 5, NASA announced the Space Launch System Heavy-Lift Launch Vehicle for beyond low Earth orbit space exploration. As of 2022, the Saturn V remains the only launch vehicle to carry humans beyond low Earth orbit. It holds records for the heaviest payload launched and largest payload capacity to low Earth orbit of 310,000 pounds (140,000 kilograms), which included the third stage and unburned propellant needed to send the Apollo Command and Service Module and Lunar Module to the Moon. Hope you have enjoyed our video. If you found something new in our video, then consider liking, and if you wish to receive information on such topics, then feel free to subscribe our channel.